side. Massive number of people have been upgrading. Yes.
There you go. You see the graceful loom that you were talking about before.
The race we've got yet again, and a victor then goes victory to an American, Andy Hampton.
The felt it go by. He looks at the Colombian rider. How are you doing?
Straight past Santiago Botero, and he's coming up to Pantani.
Armstrong is sitting in the last few hundred metres as we come towards the finish of this monumental stage. And Armstrong,
as we start to approach the line now, Pantani grits his teeth and accelerates and over the line.
Is going now to win stage number 15. Sepp Kuss, an emotional finish from Durango in the USA. Sepp Kuss wins.
Welcome back, everybody. Tyler Yonke, excuse me, Between Two Wheels podcast episode. What are we on? I don't know, 390. I don't know. We're up there in ways. We can throw this in here. 395. There you go. Episode 395, stage 16, going up to Mont Ventoux. And so, let's get the actual stage going. Montpellier to Mont Ventoux, 171.5 kilometers. It was a barn burner. So a few things that are fascinating with this when we'll talk about the profile. I'll mention a few things. And then there was different things that happened today. We can talk about some tactics. We can talk about grown-ass men acting like children. We can talk about everything. And then, what actually came about with it today. What I wanted to start with first, though, going into the green points jersey, what were the points going into today? Jonathan Milan of Little Trek has 251. Tadej Pogacar at 223. This is a nail biter. And then you have Matthew Van Der Poel at 210. So, part of the things we've seen here recently is Jonathan Milan and Little Trek are just effing up the formation at the beginning. The sprints are not holding things together. They're letting shit go up the road. Or, you can't get too upset necessarily about too much of that. Hang on, let's take care of some good things here. Victor says, Between Two Wheels podcast is live. Yes, we are. You liked it. Awesome. And Tour de France excitement. Welcome aboard. Thanks for being here, Victor. So we've seen Little Trek with Jonathan Milan. He tries to get in the early break, or he's one of the first people, and it's just then he gets blown out. So it's really odd because I'm not sure what his why is he even playing the game if he can't play the game? What's the point of what he's even doing here? So the realistic thing is you've been seeing Matthew Van Der Poel starting to snag points up and up and up. And then it reminds me, you had news coming out today of Matthew Van Der Poel, and this is all I can say about it.
All right, gold member. Don't play the laughing boy. There are only two things I can't stand in this world. People who are intolerant of other people's cultures, and the Dutch.
What? Yeah, the Dutch. The Netherlands. Matthew Van Der Poel pulls out. He's going to wear this Raymond Poulidor jersey, his grandfather, who raced French rider. I think he won a top Mont Ventoux, I want to say, so like 50 years ago. So he going to have this special jersey, and he has pneumonia, so he's out. Now, it's funny, you listen to different podcasts, people break this down. They're all questioning, does he really have it? I mean, you come up with a lot of just saddle sore, a lot of excuses, a lot of injuries. Pneumonia is pretty extreme. Evidently he went to the hospital. I think it's legit. We could probably say it is the case that he has pneumonia. So he's going to get this 210 here in third place wiped out. So now you just have 251 to 223, and you have some points here, 20 points on the sprint going into today. Well, actually that was yesterday, so let's look at 2 days. Montpellier, so we have up here at 112 kilometers in, a sprint, 20 points available, but there's points at the finish as well. Points at the finish, 30, okay? And everyone's saying, oh, Tadej's going to win this. So Jonathan Milan, you need to get your shit together. You need to get up the road and give yourself a good chance at this. So here we go. Montpellier to Mont Ventoux. We've talked about Mont Ventoux a few times. Tommy Simpson dies up there in 1967 from heat, dehydration, amphetamines, alcohol. These are the kind of things you were going on back in the day. But it's a pretty brutal climb. The last time we came here, I want to say 2021. Was it 2021? Maybe 2022. Where they did it twice. So if you see the route here, they actually were, I think over here in Carpentras, they come the far right side of Mont Ventoux. There's 3 ways up it. There's up through Bedouin to the chateau, about halfway up or 3/4 of the way up. Then there's a way out to the right here. I guess that would be east. And then it connects at the chalet. And then there's over the top on the back. So they come over it once, twice. Remember that was the time Tadej actually got dropped by Jonas the second time up. Wout's up the road, kind of being a satellite rider for Jonas. Wout ends up coming down into Carpentras and winning it. The interesting part of this, though, is while Tadej gets distanced at the top, okay, he gets distanced by Jonas at the top, he catches him on the descent. He and Carapaz and a few others, and then actually beats him in this, the field sprint. For the group that was there. The reason I'm bringing this is because you can ride all the way to the top or near the top and really put someone in desperate position. But when someone has a kick and they just have more of an ability to sprint, you can't always beat them. Okay, so that's going to come into play here with a few aspects. Okay, we'll talk about that as we come here. There we go. I talked about our friends here, Poraka Pack Adventures. They've been doing the daily recaps. I'm following. I'm enjoying it. It's just another 30 minutes of me being able to. I'm gonna put their link in there. Okay. Here's the times going up to Chateau Renard, which is about 2/3 of the way up to the climb. These were the climbs going up there. Well, we don't want to necessarily spoil that on the day. Let's get to how this happened. Okay. Let's do this here so we don't get nixed. Like I said, about 100 kilometers. You can see here, so the first, you would expect, once again, Jonathan Milan to take care of some things, have his team work for him, but that was not the case, okay? So then the next thing is, okay, well, is there going to be a breakaway that gets up the road? Is UAE with Tadej, how much time can they allow a break to get up the road and still expect to win? And does Tadej expect to win? He's had a little sniffles. It's coming off of a rest day. This is pretty intense. But even with that, when we start looking at the next few days, tomorrow is probably going to be a sprint day. Okay, but then we hit Col de la Loze. Then we hit La Plagne, and those are 2 brutal finishes. Okay, La Plagne is like almost 20-kilometer finish. It's one, I think in Lance's first Tour de France, he bonked on, almost lost it. I think La Plagne is also stage 17 of the Tour de France that 2006, where Floyd Landis had his great escape. They go up over the top and then finished on the downside. So La Plagne is famous. many different interesting things going on there over the years. So we got a lot of these, and those ones are back-to-back climbs. This was just one solid hour worth of climbing for these guys, okay? So starts out immediately, you're getting guys jumping off the front. Wout's trying to get into a break. Tudor gets 2 guys up in a break with an Alpecin rider. However, and I took this off of Lantern Rouge, his breakdown, because I actually wanted to point some things out that he's going to point out here, which is, there it is, 154 kilometers, Jonathan Milan with a teammate and Alpecin trying to go up the road. Why? This is completely ridiculous. I don't know what they're doing. Then they start to do the barrage across the front, okay? They're not letting the break necessarily get up the road, but, and they're doing these kind of things where they're taking nature breaks, don't attack on nature breaks, then teams are getting upset. But when you look at who's been winning races here, it's been very sparse. The big teams, UAE's got like, 5 wins? Alpecin, De Koninck has a bunch, Soudal has a bunch, Jumbo has 1, Ineos has 1. Then you have Uno X with 1, and then that's kind of it. So you know, some of these other little teams need to get up the road and do their thing and make it exciting. And I'm sorry, UAE, but this is the way it's going to be. Niels Pollitt comes on the front. He starts chasing people down. He yells at this Direct Energies rider, Alexandre. Then he pulls off. Then he's up there with his team on the front again. He starts doing more pulling. Tudor's going up the road, but they're not getting much of a move. They're only 40-some seconds. Then you start to see this where Movistar is going up the road, trying to go up the road. Niels Pollitt doesn't like that. This is what's fascinating. Let me back this up here. Oh, so Ina Rubio comes over here. He wants to go up the road, and Niels Pollitt says, no way. And he comes over here, and he starts yelling at him as we view it on the right, and Niels Pollitt's left. But as that's happening, then there's an attack over on the other side with the Movistar rider, and they just can't control this. So, you know, this, and I don't like the way that he's yelling at riders, trying to kind of get them in a way where they're not being able to go up the road to make this, to animate it. And you know what, UAE, you are a little bit in a precarious situation. Now, I don't know what exactly happened today. Do they have to ride on the front? Not necessarily, but they kind of want to get their guys. They don't want to have too much up the road. And there's a break of about 30 that end up the road, okay, at some point. And so you want to control this to some extent. So Niels Pollitt's going to get on the road. We saw the profile there. It's fairly flat coming in all the way until they start hitting the climb. But with that, you know, do you want to use up your riders that you might need? I mean, you just had Tim Wellens out there 40K on his own just the other day. So he might be a little bit drained. You've already lost João Almeida, so you're down a little bit. Your guys have been doing a lot of work, and they've been doing great work. But the real defense is coming up now. And if Tadej is ever to fall into trouble, you want to make sure that it's not a problem. You know, what if you get some wind tomorrow and Jonas gets a split, and then your team's going to have to work? Are they going to be able to do that? Let's hope that that comes to fruition. So anyway, break gets up the road, and let me see if I can actually find out, see who is up in this move. You had on the list here. UAE had Sivakov and Soler up the road. Visma Lease Bike had Tish Benut and Campenarts. So once again, Sivakov and Soler aren't going to do any help because they're up the road. Sudal Quickstep has Eichhorn, Peripantre, Valentin, and Ian Van Wilder. Okay, EF Education just had Ben Healy, who does it all. Bahrain had Buitrago and Wright. Ineos had Aranzman. Intermarché had Beret. Red Bull had Van Dijk. Little Trek had Russo. Alpecin de Koenig had Maurice. Tudor had Alaphilippe, Haller, Hershey, and Matteo Trentin. They had 4 riders up there. Arkea BMW Hotels had Costitut and Garcia Perna. Movistar had Enric Mas, Will Barta, the American, and Georg Molberger. Cofidis had Aramburu, Exodus Estana had Champasson and Velasco. Total Energies, Bergadeau, Picnic had Bittner. He's a sprinter. I mean, what's the point of you being up there? Israel Primatex had Woods and Nealons. Lotto had Drisners and Van Moor. And UNOX Mobility had Abrahamson and Leknosen. Now, a lot of these guys, I don't know why you're necessarily in the break, except for maybe to get a head start up the climb. So there's that. There's probably 3 aspects of this break here. Get up the road just to get a head start on this climb. Okay, that's one. The second one, you have 2 riders from Jumbo and 2 riders for UAE. They're satellite riders. Something goes up the road, we've at least got them up there, up the climb. They can do some help, either pulling or maybe helping out if you got some problem. And then you had the other ones, which are guys that can legitimately win out of a break. Mike Woods, as an example. Arensman, Ben Healy, Buitrago, Valentin Palmerpante. Then you know Tish Benut and Campenarts. Those 2 are going for their teammate Vingegaard if he comes up their side. Okay, the break ends up getting a pretty good, decent break up the road, but it's split into 2. There's like 3 riders. I think Alaphilippe splits up there with Enric Mas and another rider or 2, and then you had kind of a minute behind them was the Ben Healy group with Palapendre and a few others. 17 kilometers are pretty much coming into this climb. Wout van Aert hits the front. Ineos does as well. And here's where you start to see the dynamic, which is the UAE is not going to take the front. It's going to be taken up, the front's going to be done by Visma. Okay, so there you go. Wout starts hitting the climb in about 13.4K to go. Now, there's a 5.5, almost a 6-minute lead to the front group. Enric Mas is in there. He's been on the podium of the Vuelta. He's won stages of the Vuelta. He can climb well. He's not been doing very good in this tour, so that's problematic. But I'm seeing this, and I'm like, also Ben Healy, Parapente. Healy's won a stage here at the tour. He's won a stage at the Giro. Not quite your full mountain days, but Valentin for Soudal Quickstep, he's won a big mountain stage at the Giro, so he's just a really good climbing domestique. His big boy Remco's not here. He's free to fly the coupe. This is a dangerous move if you're still looking to take this stage win for our boy Tadej. As I'm watching it, and I start to see immediately, there you got those two groups. Alaphilippe makes a move, then Enric Mas makes a move, and Enric basically gets rid of everybody out of that move, and he's continuing to go along. I think Arnsman was up there with him as well. But Enric Mas is looking good, and I'm like, I don't think they can bring this back, because this thing is staying in that 5-minute stretch for quite some time. So the main group is a little bit behind. Parapente, he takes out of the Healy group, but Ben Healy attacks from there. He's drawn that up. About 12.7 kilometers to go. That's the lead group. I wanted to see exactly how long the next rider for Visma was on the front for distance-wise. I couldn't totally tell because, one, it's only showing the total kilometers to go for the lead rider. So as 12.7 to go for the lead rider, but they're 5 minutes behind. I don't know, is that at 15 kilometers to go? And the signs on the side of the road weren't giving it to me. And so then as they're peeling off this amount of time to the leaders, it's hard to tell what kilometers are at. So I pegged the next rider doing almost 18 minutes all by himself, and it was Sepp Kuss. The American Sepp Kuss comes to the front, now shows 12.7. He drives this thing for almost halfway up the climb here, almost up to the chalet. And he's just dripping everybody out of this field. They're just going. Matter of fact, Simon Yates comes up here to take a pull. He can't even do it. Next thing you know, he's gone. And our boy Sepp Kuss, 18 minutes. It's actually 17:45, I think. He's on the front, solo, just pulling the group. Meanwhile, the group up front with Ben Healy, Parapente, they're still clawing their way to get to Enric Mas. The group, like I said, the group is coming down more and more. Carlos Rodriguez takes a little dig here at 7.9, not to be undaunted. A few meters later, Vingegaard puts in a rocket attack, and here we go. Now, I did want to show, first of all, up to the chalet, the Vingegaard group. 30 minutes and 20 seconds has been the fastest time with Armstrong, 5 others with Pantani. This time it's 28 minutes by Vingegaard and Pogačar. They're all the way down there, 28:05. That is the fastest time up to that spot, it appears to be, ever. So they are moving. Now, you have 2 sections of this climb. You have the wooded area up to the chalet. And by the way, when I'm trying to remember, was it 2016? Somewhere around there, when Chris Froome came up, when he got Richie Port's bike hit the motorbike, there was too much of a crowd, and they finished at the chalet that year. De Gendt won that day. The problem with that was the crowd was so intense. We've all seen these intense crowded areas, but the weather was so bad at the top that they couldn't race to the top. So they did it at there. So you can imagine all these people that are normally spread, through the top of the climb, they're all pushed down to the bottom. So the crowd was out of control. But it's a 2-pronged climb, which is you're in the trees, you're in the forest area, then you hit the chalet, and then you start coming up with it looks like the moonscape, and the wind is very in your face. As a climber, here's what you go about. They talk about the wind. If there's a headwind, it's an advantage for someone who's sitting on. Okay, you get definitely benefit of sitting in the draft. If there's a tailwind, you don't get that much of a draft, and so it's easier to get some separation. That plays into a part on this today because Jonas, especially on the lower slopes here, if he gets up into the moonscape area, and he and Tadej are both solo, it's going to be hard for either one of them to pull the other one back. That's the concept. So that's why he's taken off here at 7.3, but he couldn't get rid of Tadej. Tadej sits on there, pulls up to him, seated the whole time. Meanwhile, up front, you got these guys. Ben Healy's yelling at Buitrago, come on, help us. We want to have a win. They're only 4:27 with 7K to go ahead of the yellow jersey. The group of Healy is actually 46 seconds still on Enric Mas. Now, Tadej makes it up here. You got Marc Soler they had been satellite riders. Soler can't do shit. Tish Benoot hits the front for Vingegaard. Meanwhile, just sitting on the back is Tadej, just dealing with this. Once again, the wind isn't so bad in this area, but Tish Benoot is hitting out. When they attacked, you immediately had Roglic look like he was going to be able to go with him. He's sitting in 5th position. His 3rd place overall teammate, Lipowitz, is having a little bit more trouble. They regroup. Later on, Lipowitz then attacks, and it's like, dude, you guys need to get your shit together and race as a team. Because otherwise, now I think they did eventually, so it's not as bad. Tish Benoot peels off as Vingegaard at 6 kilometers. Now, once again, he's probably more like 7 to go, but they've cut the lead down to 3:45. Vingegaard once again hits out. He attacks up this climb, I want to say about 4 times. Once again, Tadej is able to follow him, being able to get on his wheel. It looked like they're, if Jonas could have kept going, maybe he would have been able to, but that's what Tadej does. People can't necessarily do it to him. Meanwhile, the gap is down about 5 kilometers to go. Ben Healy and Parapentre are going, but they keep attacking each other as well. Buitrago comes back. Enric Mas comes back, and they just keep going up. Then Vingegaard gets up to the last teammate he has up the road. I'll tell you this. We've complained and made comments about Visma, about some of their team tactics. Chaos is really how I've called it, and I think that's kind of been their idea. But today was not. Today was... we've got a definite plan, and I think it was textbook, and I think it was actually the best that they could possibly do. Jonas came into this stage saying, I will lose my 2nd place. I will risk losing it, and I'm fine with that to try to win this race. In other words, I'm going to attack. Now, this was good old-fashioned attacking. I mean, it was bam, bam, bam. It was a lot of hitting, and it was fantastic. You saw this on the front group with Healy and Parapentre, and then Mas coming in and back, and then you saw it with the main 2 guys, Tadej and Jonas. Campenarts hits the front with his arrow hammer. He's digging away. He brings the gap down even further. Meanwhile, back here, you finally see Bora doing a little bit of work. They had another teammate up there with him, pulling for Roglic and Lipowitz. Tucked in with them was Oscar Onley. He was not having his best day. Once again, they catch Mas up front. They being Healy and Parapentre, they attack again. They distance themselves from Enric Mas, but those 2 can't separate. But they're still worried about the people coming in from behind. Meanwhile, Campenarts, he comes up to, I can't see, let's see if we can see which kilometer to go sign here. It is probably about 4 to go. They are then catching up with Aransman. Vingegaard attacks again, pretty ferocious attack. But once again, Tadej has no trouble coming to him. But at this point, this is the problem, which is Jonas is trying to make his separation on this part of the climb. And if Tadej, it's less work for him because you're so exposed that Vingegaard is getting all the flag, or you can see the flag, I don't know if the flag's blowing here, but he's getting the headwind, at least it's a head cross, and he's getting beat with that. And Tadej is able to just really, because it's so exposed, he's able to take a benefit from there. There you go. This is the second part of the climb. It's just barren out there. There's nothing out there to go. Oscar Onley having trouble with the white jersey. Let's go back here. Ben, whoa, that went way back too far. I'm sorry, lost it here. I think we'll go right to this spot. There you go. Jonas attacks again. Oscar Onley having trouble. Enric Mas just keeps coming back to these 2. But you can tell if either one of them attacks and just holds it, or they both hold it to the finish, Enric Mas is not coming back. But they can't do that, and they don't do that. Next thing you know, with 1.8 to go, Buitrago sticks back with him. Now, remember, Buitrago on the Mur de Huy stage, I want to say 8, 9, somewhere in that range, when they went over it the first time, they come back another time. Jack Haig went down, crashed. Buitrago went down as well. He had some skin things up. So he's had a little bit of a tough tour, but he's coming into his own. He's definitely a good climber. You have to watch him, and letting him get back there is not a good thing. Meanwhile, Tadej finally decides to attack. And what I've wanted to see Jonas do all along, one, you've got to actually get back, excuse me, get back up to the wheels. That's item one. But when you do, attack, because you don't know how deep Tadej has gone. And in this case, that's exactly what Jonas does. He comes up to him. They just did past Alaphilippe. He comes up to him and he goes over the top. That looked like he put Tadej in a little bit of more distress. But Tadej, as you can see, he did get out of the saddle just to, we're going to just pull this here. See, Tadej actually does have to get out of the saddle to counter this move, which he didn't have to do before. And he's able, he exposes himself. He gets back up to Jonas and they're still working together. And Jonas, other than that time when you saw just a little bit where Tadej attacked and then Jonas came up to him and then counterattacked, Tadej did not hit the front of this climb until about 200 meters to go at the end. So the entire climb is Jonas either going himself, pushing the pace, or with a teammate. So when you want to do it a little bit of analysis about like, oh, Tadej's just got this in the bag, he had to work. But you know who else was really strong today, and you've got to take a little bit away from it, was Jonas Vingegaard. I think he was super strong, and if Tadej had been stronger like he's been before, you would have seen him, one, getting away, and he was not able to do that. Maybe it was because of the wind. Who knows? However, coming up here inside the last kilometer, these two knuckleheads, they're not actually knuckleheads. They're good riders, and they've been playing it good together. But I'm seeing Ben Healy and Parapantre attack each other over and over, and they're ready to go in for the win. So they're ready. I think Ben Healy's like, look, I've already had a stage win. I've already had the yellow jersey. I'm going for this. But yet he's almost too active all day. We've seen this not play out well for Quinn Simmons, where he's just one of the strongest riders in the race and not playing it as smart as he can. And I think Ben Healy was fairly smart today here, but I think he could have done some things a little bit better. And we're going to talk about him a little bit here. So he attacks. Next thing you know, Buitrago comes back up to the group. Parapentre's there. But you look from behind, and Ian Van Wilder, a pseudo Quickstep teammate, is coming up. Where did he come from? I don't know. I didn't see him, but here he's coming up here. And when he comes up, he tags onto the back, goes through the back and immediately to the front, because Ben Healy had been sitting on the front, and he takes over. Van Wilder takes over. Now, I'm watching this and I go, well, look, I don't know if this is the best. In hindsight, I think this is the best thing Van Wilder could have done for two reasons. One is it takes the shifty game out of it. Having someone lead you out, the pace goes high. You can put the guy into the barriers, and you know what you're doing. You just don't have to worry about playing this cat and mouse game, and it's a perfect tactic. Now, the ideal tactic besides that would have been that Van Wilder comes up there, because at the time, Healy's on the front. Van Wilder maybe comes up, and because the pace was not high, takes a little breather, and then he attacks. What you're going to force everyone there to do is to chase him down, make a big effort to do that. And as soon as they do that, you follow the wheels, you counter, boom, solo, go. I think, though, Van Wilder was cooked. And so he came up and he's like, I could do this. This is what I can do. I could put it on the front and help him out. I can't attack. And so if I do try to attack, it's going to be nullified quickly. And then I'm going to be put out to pasture. And it was never put to good use. So that's one. And plus, Parapentre is known for, I mean, Ben Healy has a good kick, but Valentin is no shitty kick person either. So he's got this with him. What happens here, coming up to 250 to go, they have a right corner out of about, I want to say 150 to the line. Then it kind of meanders its way to the top, and it's super steep. Ben Healy does the mistake. Two things. As soon as Van Wilder took the lead, Ben Healy should have made Parapentre get on his wheel, ride third place rather than second. For a few things. One, you then get to see if he, being Valentin, makes the kick first. You're on his wheel. You can follow. And remember, there's this headwind. You're going to get a benefit. So you're going to ride it a little bit, close it down, and maybe have a chance to kick past him with a little bit of a benefit. The problem, the other thing that Ben Healy does here, he kicks from too far out. 250 is amazing sprint. About what you want to do if you're a flat sprint. Mark Cavendish, Miller, those guys like to go from 2 to 250 out, not 250 on an uphill steep climb. It was too far, and there was no need for Ben Healy to do it. I know why he did it, though, because he thought he could maybe get a gap and then it would be fine. They come around this right corner, Parapente takes the inside, and then easily distance himself. Meanwhile, back here, just a few seconds back, is Tadej and Vingegaard. Tadej decides to punch it to the finish. He does, and he gets a slight gap over Vingegaard. And the spoils go to these riders, which is Parapente gets the win, same time as Ben Healy, Buitrago 4 seconds, Van Wilder at 14. Pogacar closes that whole thing down to 43 seconds, but it was really Vingegaard who did all the work. He gets 45. Enric Mas at 53. They passed him, just they being Tadej and Vingegaard, just as Tadej was sprinting here in the last few hundred meters up to the top. Alaphilippe at 117. Roglic comes in 2 seconds ahead of his teammate Lipowitz. I don't know what's going on there. So only a 2 second change, 3 second change to from first to second. Lipowitz drops further down, only drops down as well. Roglic moves up a spot into 5th place. Kevin Vauquelin down into 6th. Felix Gall. So on the day, Felix Gall loses, I want to say, we'll look at it here actually. I think he lost 3 minutes, but he got dispersed from the lead group about 13 kilometers to go to the top. And it was actually, that was what the lead group was. So he actually, he being Felix Gall, gets probably spit out about 15K to go and only loses 13 minutes. So, 3 minutes. So quite the climb from him. I expected more, but I think for some of these riders where we've seen Felix win, well, it wasn't at the top of Col de la Loze, it's Courchevel, where they drop down and head up to the ski state, or the airfield there. He won on that a few years ago. Was it, that was the Dead Legs day, right? No, that's Adam Yates. I don't know. He did win. I thought he did win there too. We'll take a look. I expected a little bit more over here, but Felix Gall once again 17 at 3:33. That's actually a pretty good day. Who else did here? Well, we had Sepp Kuss. Where did he come in? Sepp Kuss, 29th place, 5:12 back, but he did a ton of work. So there we go. GC now to Tadej. We didn't really talk about the, we'll take a look at it here in a second. The points, Jonathan Milan, 251, got 0 points on the day, but Tadej got a few at the finish here. What else do we have? The KOM. Tadej goes into the KOM jersey on virtue of today's stage, now tied with Lenny Martinez, but Lenny has a chance probably to gain some of that back tomorrow. He just wrote it in easy. Youth jersey goes to Lipowitz. He's only 2 minutes over Oscar Only, extended out a little bit, and the team jersey still stays with Visma Lease Abeik. The complimentary stuff, here we go. Here's the points we had. Jonas Abrahamsson, 20 points at the lead. You saw nothing here out of Trek. They better not have a rider up here because they didn't. No, they didn't. Parapente gets the king on the mountain at the top of Mont Ventoux, and then points at the finish. But Tadej does come in here with 17 points for the green jersey, which moved him up there. Ben Healy gets another most combative rider, and Parapente with the win as the youth as well. And there we go. Tom Wheeler says EF only had one. they had one, and they had a chance here. So let's go to stage winners. Just want to take a look at this because I briefly kind of mentioned this. So you have Alpecin, Soudal, UAE, Soudal, EF, UAE, Trek, Soudal, Visma, Uno X, UAE, Ineos, UAE, Soudal. So Soudal has now 4 wins. For a race where it's disappointment with Evenepoel, he comes in there, gets a stage, but they've got Tim Miller has a good chance of getting this again tomorrow. So, I don't know what to really say, but they're having a fantastic, actually, race. And having a French winner, Parapente, having a French winner up Mont Ventoux is just, it's iconic. It's the way to go. Okay, so tomorrow the sprint comes at 48, but it's got this climb up here. I mean, it's not it's up not even up a Cat 4. So, Milan, Trek, you should get your points tomorrow. And I would be just dumbfounded if you don't do everything you can. You have 48 kilometers to race. Just do it. Now, I shouldn't just say it like that because you got 2 Cat 4s here. I think I would expect Lenny Martinez to try to get those. And I expect the sprinters teams to try to hold everything at bay so that they can do this finish. because you don't have many sprint spots left. So Jonathan Milan, if you can get these sprint, it looks more dramatic, I think, this profile than it actually is. Should be fine for the sprinters. They should be able to get up and over, but you never know. I just went through the list of teams that have won for a reason, which is they're getting desperate. Bahrain hasn't won. Visma's only got one win. Trek continues to try to get a win with Quinn Simmons. Jayco hasn't had a win. Got a Total Energies, Tudor with Alaphilippe and Matteo Trentin. So you've got a lot of these teams that just haven't quite got their win yet, and they are, maybe getting a little desperate. UAE, obviously some wins. EF, they've had a great race. Today was another one. I was pulling for Ben Healy, but I don't have any problem with Pelopendre getting the win. Okay, so that's stage 17. So what's today? Tuesday. This is Wednesday. And then we hit Thursday with stage 18. This goes up to Courchevel, De La Loze. This is the one where, and let's just play it. I'm just going to, I think I have it here. We'll talk about, sorry, I thought I had, oh, I know what I need to do. Sorry, folks. Let's do it this way. I put it in a bookmark and I thought it was in the bookmarks, but it wasn't. So Tadej did get the record up the climb. Let's take a look first at that. Here's the times. Tadej Pogacar 54:41, but like beats the previous record by almost a minute, which was showed on here, but Yvonne Mayo had it in a time trial like in 2004 up this. Not racing the full day, and then length that you just the time trial from the bottom to the top, but still, Tadej got to sit on almost all day. He didn't hit the wind except for 2 different times, and they were both not much. So this one, it's a little biting because I think that Jonas actually would be like, oh, he actually. Now, I'm not to say Tadej can't get the record, but the one that person pretty much did all the work, it was him. Okay, let's. This is back De La Loze a few years ago.
In here trying to get to
2023. Pretty sure it's 2023. And the reason is because that's when Sepp got hit on the eye that same day. He wasn't really there to help him. And then he goes on and wins the Vuelta with the big thing on his eye almost the entire time. Let's go here.
the top of this climb and trying to defend his place in the general classification.
I'm gone. I'm dead. Adam fight for the podium. Mark always with today.
There you go. There you go. I don't think you're going to see a replay of that. I just Tadej is, I think, just a different type of rider now. So let's go back to the stage profiles here. Like I said, that's tomorrow. This is then Thursday, and then we have Friday up to La Plana, and then Saturday. A little disappointing. Saturday, I think you have it's a Quinn Simmons, Wout Van Aert type of day, and then we get to the last one. We'll talk about that one at a later time. All right. Other than that, I think that's where we're at. Impressive day. A lot of racing out there to be had. Some weird stuff. Once again, Niels Paulette, what the fuck are you doing? Jonathan Milan, what are you doing? Not sure what's going on with those guys. I thought UAE kind of, they weren't so great as a team today, but they didn't have to be. But they did have riders up the road in case you needed them. Visma, I thought they played as good as they can do. That's I don't know what else you could have wanted other than someone crashing out Tadej. We're not going to do that, so that's about as good as they can do. And Tadej, he's on course to do this, but I think it will be exciting because Jonas probably one of his best days ever, and Tadej he's just ripping it. So at least these two can go out in style. Once again, Lipowitz only losing like a minute 30 or somewhere in there with Roglic. Tadej needed to lose that and more today, and then again Thursday for Jonas to have a chance. So there you go. Like, subscribe, all that stuff so you get the notifications. We're finishing this thing off. Hope you guys enjoyed it.